All right, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our today's personal selling online session. So please do me a favor and just participate in the chat box there by using any smiley face, emoticon face there, a sad face, a happy face, just to indicate your mood. This will help me to also confirm that you can see the screen that I'm currently sharing, which should be showing chapter 13, the PowerPoint slide. That's what we're going to focus on today. It will also confirm that you can hear me very well. So in the chat box, just comment with any smiley face there. So today we focus on chapter 13, like I've indicated previously. Your next assessment, it will be chapter 10, chapter 12, and chapter 13. So we've covered the previous two chapters for a revision purpose or a reflection. So let's look into chapter 13 now, where they talk about selling of services. So firstly, there is a very interesting and good quote about product and services, the one that on the slide. Jason Fried indicate that the best feature of a product should really be a customer service. And in this statement or in this quote, we see product, we also see a service there. And this is what the chapter is all about, to differentiate between goods and services, as well as to give some tips and some guidelines for salespeople when they are selling a service. So firstly, let's differentiate between a product and a service. So in the textbook, you want to highlight there in that paragraph at the beginning of chapter 13, where they talk about the difference between a product and a service. And then you'll see in the second line, they say a product is a bundle of tangible and intangible attributes, including packaging and branding. And you also want to highlight line number 5, where they talk about customers buy satisfaction there. So when we buy a product, we usually buy satisfaction. So using that definition there, in the slide, you will see a product being defined as tangible attributes that result to satisfaction. And this differs from a service, because when you look into a service, you can also highlight in the textbook, that's the last sentence, where they talk about a service is an activity or an action or an act or a performance that one party offers to another at a fee that is essentially intangible and does not result in ownership of anything except for an experience. So you will see in the slide a similar definition for a service there. We're talking about intangible act resulting to an experience. So with a product, customer gets satisfaction, where else with the service, he gets an experience. And you will see the use of the word intangible and tangible attributes there. The word tangible, we'll discuss it later, but it just talks about the senses, whether you can see, touch, feel, taste, and so on, where intangible is the opposite, which means all those are impossible when it comes to a service. So product, some examples, for example, when we buy product, we buy quality, we look at quality, we buy the packaging of the product, we also buy the brand, because remember the brand names and the brand image, at some stage they influence our purchase decision making when we buy products. With the service, we're talking about those intangible acts. For example, in the textbook, they give you some example at the top of the page there, where they talk about lawyers, plumbers, teachers, taxi drivers perform services. So in the slide, we also include insurance as an example as part of the service there. So based on this definition or the differences that you see there on the textbook, they also classify the difference in terms of a product and service using a product or service continuum. So what you look in the service or product or service continuum there, they show you that it's not just about the differences between a product and a service. Some we get hybrids where it's a combination of both, of a product and a service. So they classify into 5 categories. You see relatively pure products. And what they indicate about relatively pure products, is that these are products that don't require any service. You don't need any service when you buy them. For example, when you buy salt or when you buy a toothpaste there is no service basically that you need. Usually that's basically a pure product. Is based on the quality, the package, the brand, and so on. And then you've got those service intensive products, and they talk about basically these are products that require some services. So you are buying a product, but you'll end up having to also get a service with or to service the product in order to keep it in good value there. So they talk about real estate as an example, and you will see usually when you buy a house, that's a product because you can physically see a house and so on, but there's a lot of going to be maintenance regarding the house there. So supposed to have some insurance on it, repairs and all that. So all that becomes part of the service part, but it's only a small ratio compared to a physical attributes, which is a house itself, because regarding a house, you bought a product and then it requires services. And then you've got hybrids, which is an equal variation of product and service there. And talking about hybrids, they use example of a restaurant as well as tourism industry. So usually you will see that when you go to a restaurant, you require both. You require a service as well as just you require a product, which is food and so on. So you'll see in the example they give in the textbook, they give you more example regarding a restaurant with hybrids, food and drink, which is a physical product, location, the theme and the ambience of the restaurant becomes part of the service. And as you go, you get service intensive services, which means I bought a service and this service requires another service as well. So usually at travel, it's a good example whereby a customer is purchasing transport, which is a service. But along the service, you're gonna need things such as the type of seat where you wanna sit. Maybe you wanna sit next to the window because you wanna have an experience and you also wanna have a nice view. So that becomes part of the service because you actually, the basic service that you were requiring, it was transport. And now you need things such as accommodation or transport to the airport. So all of those ones becomes a service that is complemented by other services there. And then you've got pure services, which is just a service, there is no product. In some instances with the service intensive services, you buy a service and there is a small ratio of a product that complements a service there. So for example, at travel, you'll get food on the plane. So that shows that you were actually looking for transport, but it needs some products for the experience to be complete there. And then with pure services, it's just a service. There is no product at all. For example, they use insurance as an example in the textbook there, as well as teaching, whereby it's mainly pure service. There is no product that are complements. So insurance could be a life cover, for example, or a car insurance. We don't even know where the company buildings are at because these things, most of the time, they use electronic formats, for example, telephone, your websites, your emails, and so on. And there is nothing tangible regarding that. Maybe you'll only see the policy, the contract, but all those services that they provide, which is safety basically, and the insurance, you won't be able to see all those services. So that becomes a pure service. So using a service or a product continuum, product and services are classified into 5 categories. But further to that, you can also classify a service and products according to the core benefits. So in the textbook, you will see table 13.1. They show you some examples how you can classify the service according to core benefits. Remember the word benefits, it talks about basically 2 things: who will receive the benefits and whether those benefits are tangible or intangible. So they look at the benefits in terms of who's the recipient of the benefits, and then they look at customers' bodies. That's the first one. And then they look at whereby the service is actually directed at customers' possessions, which is like objects, your appliances, and so on. And then these services can be tangible and intangible. So tangible one is the one that we can sense them, see, touch, hear, feel, and so on. For example, you think about things such as healthcare. You will see that in the slide there is an illustration of some sort of a surgery. You can feel most of the healthcare services. You can see basically some of the equipment that they are using. You can actually at some stage even touch. That could be maybe a delivery and you have there's a new baby and so on. So it's tangible most of the time in the healthcare industry. Hairdressing or going to a barber is another example, because when you look at the services directed at the physical body of the person, which is their hair, and you can see the color, you can see the style and so on. So hence it's tangible. With intangible ones, you'll see in the textbook, they use some nice words that these are actually directed at psychological receptors, your senses. So you cannot see such service, and then hence they refer to it as intangible. Things such as education, the skills that you are learning, or the theater, going to a movies, as well as counseling, whereby they offer you advices and so on. Those tends to be intangible. You cannot actually see the service, but it also goes further to say, when we talk about intangibility, because someone might think, so someone might think here with theater that when I go to the movies, but I can actually see the movie, whether it's 3D or what, or I can see action there, I can see pictures, I can see visuals. So another perspective of understanding tangible and intangible, it also talks about whether you can experience all these things before payment. So you must take payment into consideration, whether will I be able to experience counseling if I don't pay anything without any transaction? Will I be able to experience the movie without paying, or experience education without any payment before? So intangible refers to a situation where you cannot have a test drive of something, or you cannot have a sample of that service. So there is no way you can get all those services before you make a payment. So even if at some stage you can tend to think that actually you can see or touch some of the service aspects under intangible. Think about the payment, whether it's made or it has not been made yet. So if it has not been made and customer cannot touch and see, that's what makes it intangible. If the payment has been made and the customer can now see all those various aspects of the service, it's still intangible if they couldn't see, or they couldn't hear, or they couldn't touch all those services before the payment. So the payment plays a huge role there. Customer's position, it's also another aspect regarding when we classify according to core benefits. So tangible services, usually about whereby we provide service to customers, positions such as freight, or it could be repairs, or it could be landscaping as shown in the diagram there. And then the customer will be able to see all the services that are provided. That could be cleanliness there. That could be new flowers, or as well as basically how they've done their job, whether it's quality or not, it's nice or not, the style. So those are tangible services that you can see. Repairs is another aspect, because that could be a car, you can feel the difference, the comfort. It could be some of things such as you can hear, it could be noise, for example, whereby it was making noise and now it's no longer making noise. So those are tangible aspects of customer possessions where we provide service. Intangible, customer cannot sense or see, touch or anything or various aspects of the service there. And we're talking about things such as legal services. You talk about your accounting, your security. In the textbook, table 13.2 shows you not 13, table 13.2, sorry. That will still be on 13.1, table 13.1, showing you those example of intangible services. You are legal, you are accounting, whereby you or providing security. That could be insurance, so you can see safety there. Legal advices that they give you, sometimes you don't have to say anything. They actually themselves are the one who conduct everything and they talk on your behalf. So hence it becomes an intangible service. On customer's position, meaning that that legal service is usually mostly about your cars, could be about marriage, could be legal about business aspects and so on. Based on these definitions of core benefits or classifying service using the product or service continuum, another aspect in the textbook is in the beginning of the chapter, they talk about classifying services according to career opportunities. And then they give you various industries whereby as a personal or as a salesperson you can work at. For example, the first bullet being insurance, real estate, the next one, and so on. So there is another way to actually look at this, is that when you look at the service continuum as well as you look at the classifying according to benefits, is that all these practical examples that are here, they are basically your career opportunities. So you will see tourism or restaurant, real estate. So from services, service intensive products, you've got a career opportunity, real estate, and then the hybrids one. So if you understand how to classify them based on this service continuum, you are killing two birds with one stone here, because you also understanding the different career opportunities, including the air travel, teaching, the insurance industry. You will see at the beginning of the chapter as you go, they talk about all those different careers. The one that you should highlight, and I think it plays a huge role here, is the second last one, that career opportunity where they talk about marketing services such as communication and advertising. And when you look at in terms of classifying services according to core benefits, you can also classify that service. For example, people who work in the advertising agencies, they are actually providing services to customer possessions instead of customer bodies. So it will usually be a tangible thing. So marketing will probably be here. Because advertising agencies, you will see what they provide you with. It could be the material, the video that they are showing, or the advert itself. It could be the brochures and so on. So hence it becomes tangible. So as you go through the second module that is used to classify the services here, the healthcare industry, it's another career opportunity. You will see you've got other landscaping, legal, accounting, security. So all these practical examples show you the career opportunities whereby salespeople are actually needed. And if you read in the beginning of the chapter, we give you more practical examples. For example, if you think about a financial planner, they talk about those people who work in stock, bonds, and mutual benefits. So as you go through into detail, you will see more of practical examples than just the industry that is illustrated on the slide here. And then another scholar classified services differently, and that will be table 13.2, you will see, based on this scholar, he looks at services in terms of the contact or interaction between the service provider and the customer. So this is about, when you read there in the textbook, the paragraph, it says classifying services according to the relationship between the service provider and the customer or client. There is one important aspect that I've noted in this textbook, and you also should take note of it, whereby they use the term customer and they use the term client. We should really talk about the differences between those two. So under table 13.1, so where you have table 13.1, at the bottom of it, you should just highlight there where they talk about a rough difference between a client and a customer is that a customer does a once-off transaction with the service provider, while a client makes repeat purchases of the service. So at some stage, another logic, you will think that a client will probably be someone where there is no any relationship, a person has not made any transaction, has never bought from a business. But in this textbook, they refer to a client as someone who makes repeat purchases. So a client is some sort of a loyal customer, in other words. And you'll remember at previous chapters, we also refer to a prospect, and those basically in this textbook, we refer to a prospect as someone who hasn't made any payment to a company. So you will see the first time you make a payment to a company, you become a customer. The next time you make another payment, and that's when we can call you a client. So what we take from this is that a client is a customer, but not every customer is a client. Meaning that if you make a purchase, you're already a customer, and you can make another purchase and become a client. Hence, a customer is a client, where else a client, not all customers are, not a client is a customer, because you will see that some customers will make one purchase and then they will never make a repeat purchase, which means maybe they were dissatisfied and then they don't buy to a company again. So they will only stay on a customer lane. They will never be clients to an organization. So that's just the rough difference between a client and a customer. The slide refers to customers. Hence, the customer has an opportunity to become a client. So you will see on table 13.2, where they look at that relationship or that contract, whether the customer goes to the service provider, and that will be the first line there, whereby you've got customer or client goes to the service provider, and then they give you practical examples. For example, that will be like the one illustrated in the picture, going to a surgery, or similar to the one on the above table. Remember, this is a build-up model, so meaning that what you see on the left here, for example, going to the healthcare, going to a hairdresser, barber shop, education, counseling, most of them, they require you to go physically to the service provider. It's not the other way around, whereby like you have a service provider going to the customer there. And usually those will be customer possessions. That's where service provider usually go to the customer, like you see on the slide with that previous picture as well for landscaping there. So things such as repairs, for example, that could be plumbing in your house, things such as legal advices, accounting, and so on, they will come to your business most of the time. But you also have online transactions. So you will see the last column on that table 13.2, customer or client and service provider transact via different forms of electronic communications. And we've seen with COVID pandemic, it has actually enhanced or motivated most of working from home and so on. So all these services that you have above there, they could be done online transactions. So if you look at education, for example, things such as counseling, You can think about things such as legal advices where there is teams meetings or accounting, but the above ones which are tangible, what we learn here is that tangible services are usually cannot be provided online. So those repairs, transport for freight, landscaping, your healthcare, your hairdressing, that is impossible. So as you go through this model, in a way, it tries to show you an overall picture of this different classification of services. And the last classification that is used, I think this is the important one on this chapter. I would urge you as well to actually write some sort of NB whereby they wrote about the characteristics of a service. It's important for various reasons. It summarizes the overall model where you see all these words. And the second reason is important is because this is not just a personal selling content or context. What we see here, the service characteristics, they come from more of a marketing industry, and we see them in various theories at various textbooks and so on. Hence, I would emphasize that this is the important part of this chapter. So service characteristics, you'll see some literature will refer to 5 characteristics, but in this textbook, they refer to 4 characteristics. The other one, which is the 5th one, for interesting sake, is lack of ownership. They usually have that one as a separate one, but in this textbook, they didn't completely ignore it. They just combine it with intangibility there. So what you want to highlight regarding characteristic number 1 is the last line in that first paragraph there. They talk about services are intangible because it is often impossible to taste, to smell, to feel, to see, or hear a service. And then you will see in the slide, I talk about you cannot touch, you cannot see, you cannot taste the service. And that's what intangibility means. And basically, this is our senses where you see here at the bottom of the slide. This is the 3 common senses: to see, to touch, as well as to feel. So with the service, it's completely difficult to do that. And that is a problem when we try to do personal selling or when we try to sell our products, because we have nothing to provide for customers to see or to touch or to demonstrate a product. So you will see towards the end of that characteristics one, they provide you with some sort of strategies that you can use. It's written reducing the selling problems creating with intangibility. Obviously, it will be impossible, or it will be very challenging for you to actually understand each and every strategy one by one. Some of them are repetitive. So what I've done on this slide to actually have a more clear picture is that for each of the service characteristics, we provide at least one solution to that. So since it's intangible, meaning that you cannot see or customers cannot see a service, what can be done by salespeople is to provide tangible clues there. And those tangible clues could be brochures, could be photos, could be videos. So if you are highlighting in the textbook, that will be the first bullet talking about reducing the selling problems, creating with intangibility there. You will also see towards the end of the chapter as well, just before the summary paragraph, you've got the last section where they talk about tips for salespeople or tips for services salespeople there. And then the same strategy that we have on the slide, that's number 1 here, to help us to sell intangibility, where we say provide tangible clues there, is the same tip that is in the textbook. So you can also highlight, use brochures, photograph, videos that clearly show the outcome of utilizing the service. So in a way, we're also killing 2 birds with 1 stone using this method or this model here. And then looking at the second characteristic, it talks about heterogeneity there. And what you want to understand, or you also want to highlight, is the first sentence. They talk about Heterogeneity means that it is often difficult, if not impossible, to achieve standardization of output in services. You also want to highlight that last line in that paragraph whereby I talk about the quality tends to vary with each encounter. And those last four words, it won't be consistent with previous experiences. So that's the meaning of that characteristic, talking about if you go to a service industry, whether it's the same employee or it's the same person who served you last time, the experience will always be inconsistent, so you won't get the same experience. Usually it's expected to get different experiences from different employees. For example, you get different experience with the online learnings from different lecturers, but it goes further than that. Even from the same employee, on different occasions or on different days, this experience is not the same, even if I will be repeating exactly the same chapter and so on, or is the reorder of the products. It's because we rely on customer moods, for example, whether they are happy or not happy. So hence the services provided by customers or by employees. When service is provided by people, the service experience will never be the same. So how can we achieve some sort of a strategy? How can we use any strategy to make the service be consistent? We can use standardization there. This could be training of employees. So if employees receive enough training, if you're highlighting in the textbook, so they talk about that at the bottom of characteristics number 2, whereby they talk about 2 possible solutions to this problem. You can use customization or standardization. You'll see in the slide, it's only standardization. Because customization, it means you'll have to make a service unique for each customer. So when you do that, it's still going to be inconsistent experience. So in a way, standardization is the best option. You will see in the textbook, they talk about training of employees. If they receive intensive training, you can eliminate variability because they will tend to behave the same or follow the same guidelines. They can use a blueprint. Or you can use automation. Automation is to replace people with machines. This is a very ideal situation for fast service delivery, for consistent service delivery, like ATMs. If you have to go and withdraw money at the ATM, usually the service is the same because you are operating or you are dealing with a machine than a person. So automation, McDonald's, you will see as a good practical example whereby they are using it a lot with their kiosk machines there. And then inseparability, that's another characteristics, which is characteristics number 3. And there are 2 things that they talk about regarding inseparability. In a second paragraph, the first line, they talk about the production of a service and its consumption occur at the same time. So you cannot separate production and consumption, as you see on the slide as well there. Under that paragraph or that section, characteristics number 3, and you look at paragraph number 2, the last line, they talk about the physical presence of a customer. You also want to highlight that because that's another thing that you cannot separate. So a customer as well as the service provider, all these things, they encounter happen at once. So it provides us with a lot of problems because with goods, it's easy to say production will happen in Germany for this year, consumption will happen in South Africa the next year and so on. But with service, they happen at the same time there. So same strategies applied for heterogeneity there, you apply them for inseparability. How do they work is because if you cannot separate production and consumption, if you provide customer clients or you provide your employees with enough training, remember you'll also give them what we call power, meaning that they can be flexible, they can work at their own times, they can work from home. So that training will allow them to actually do these meetings via Skype and so on. In a way, you are trying to separate some sort of production and consumption, meaning that the customer can be sitting at home and we provide some sort of a legal service to that customer via a Microsoft Teams app and so on. So with enough training whereby employees understand Microsoft Teams app, how it works, scheduling of hours, and you give them that power that they can make their own decisions, it does allow us to standardize the service. And we also talk about the machines there, replacing people with the machine. This is self-service. So if we allow customers to book their own appointments, for example, we're talking about customers having, like when you go to the airport or you have to check in for a flight, you can select your own seat, you can do your own check-in. All those things allow the service to actually be separated, because now a customer can use a smartphone application to select a seat that they're gonna use. They don't necessarily need to be at the airport. So the service provider and the customer are not at the same place. So you think about practically as you look into these items that are discussed here. In the textbook, what you wanna highlight, it's that paragraph where they talk about reducing the selling problems created by inseparability. You will see they talk about training as number one. And then the last one, they talk about mass production, which refers to also the second bullet, talking about ATMs, the technology, hence is automation. So you will see similar strategies like characteristic number 2 there. The last characteristic is perishability, which is characteristics number 4. And with perishability, they are referring to inconsistent or fluctuating demand there. And this gives us different scenarios when we've got fluctuating demand with the service. So what it means is that you will see in the textbook, what you wanna highlight is that paragraph about problems in selling services associated with perishability, where we've got scenario 1 and scenario 2. Those are the only scenarios you wanna highlight. A demand with scenario 1, demand is higher than available supply. With scenario 2, demand is lower than the available supply there. So it's usually impossible or challenging or difficult to reach scenario 3 whereby supply and demand are at optimal level. It hardly happens with the service. It's either you're standing in the queue or there are no people on that day, which means you've got more supply. So this is a problem when we try to sell. You can imagine customer service, how it will influence it when you're talking about fluctuating demand, meaning that they will stand longer queues, the customers, to get the service. This could be also about whereby you've got a restaurant and there's a long line or long booking system that has to be used. And we've got strategies for that. For example, if it's a restaurant whereby they know that people dine out a lot on a certain days, they can use different pricing. So in the textbook, you want to highlight the first bullet in that paragraph, reducing the selling problems created by perishability. The first bullet talks about differential pricing there. And you'll see automation comes again. So automation works for 3 service characteristics there. Training works for 2 of them. And then we've got the different pricing working only for perishability. So what this means, it means that you charge different prices at different times. This will allow some customers, you can use it to move customers to the business when the demand is low. You can also move it to move customers to a different time when the demand is high. So different prices work on both sides. You'll remember with Stack in OK, they have that half price movie Tuesday or something. And that was the day whereby movies were empty, but it had a huge influence whereby Tuesday now it's more demand than the supply. And you will see they use automation as well as a practical example whereby you can buy your ticket at that kiosk, you can check your points. So hence perishability also works to control the demand or to control the fluctuation demand there. So ladies and gentlemen, this basically provides us with an overall picture of this chapter. So when you have a module such as this one, I prefer modules basically because they also show you how the sections of each chapter are connected to each other. So in this section, you will see we move from product and services. We move from, we show you a different classification with the pure products to pure services. And then from there, it's just about service. We leave the product out. And that's where we talk about the career opportunities, which are shown on all these practical examples. And then you've got another module incorporated showing you the contact or interactions between customer and service provider there. But the most focus of the chapter is here, whereby we provide all these tips. You will see at the end of the chapter, that last paragraph where they talk about tips for salespeople. All these things use different pricing methods, automation, training, brochures is part of those tips as well. So I've prepared an online quiz for you to just assess whether you've learned here. So let's quickly conduct an online quiz and reflect on this exercise quickly. And yes, I did not send you the Tuesday recording yet. Okay, I will send that with today's recording. Thank you for reminding me that. So if, ladies and gentlemen, you have any questions, feel free to ask as well. You can unmute the mic, you can type it in the chat box there. As you get ready to play the quiz, it's just few questions, 10 questions. So we're gonna give it about 10 minutes. So let's quickly generate a game code. And as usual, don't mind the silent. I'm gonna mute my mic while you play the quiz so that you can concentrate. Feel free to unmute your mic and comment as the game goes on. Feel free to also look at the screen and look at the scoreboard. That will allow you to see how you are doing. Take your time as you answer your questions as well, because it might look like it's just for fun and there, but it has really proved to be helpful on our previous experiment. So our game code is 719334. You use any nickname there. I'm quickly going to post this in the chat box as well. Then you can reference in the chat box. But as far as I know, you've been playing quizzes, so you're more familiar now. So I'm going to start it immediately. Well, enjoy, ladies and gentlemen.
Sir,
Yes.
I don't see the code in the link.
It's in the chat box here.
Okay, I just saw them. Thank you.
All right. All right, let's quickly discuss feedback of the game and see which questions give you some troubles in answering them there. So if you are still playing, unfortunately, I'll have to end the game in order to generate the report. And it should be ending on your side too. So now, first of all, Kgothatso General, congratulations for maintaining the first position there. Kgothatso General, would you like to unmute your mic and some speech there? Maybe you wanna thank God for being alive, thank vaccination, or just being healthy, or just being you, or your happy birthday, anything there?
Thank you, sir.
you're, you're
I
covered.
say I don't know what to say.
Yeah,
I'm okay now.
thank me for making the quiz.
Thank you, sir, for making the quiz. I hope you'll do it every class.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be every class. Thank you for participating there. So let's take it to question by question and see some of the red flag questions. We've got question 3 as a red flag. So let's quickly discuss some feedback there. You will see with question 3, there were 7 incorrect answers. The question was asking, when classifying services according to a product or service continuum, ordering a KFC Streetwise tool using Uber Eats smartphone application is an example of, and then you've got your Pew products up until Pew services with hybrids. And most of you will see they categorize it as a service intensive services, whereby the correct answer was hybrid there, because basically you are using the service of Uber Eats, which is an application, and you are also getting food, which is a real product. So you need both. So this example is similar to going to a restaurant actually, because Uber Eats replaces the whole services of a waitress and so on. But I'm not too strict. I would understand why you would say service intensive services as well, because in this case, you are using Uber Eats as a primary service, and then the product, which is food, you are getting it as a limited part of the service, because the whole situation were about ordering, looking at the menu on the app. So in a way, it's still a service intensive services, but what we get here is that it's some sort of a hybrid. You've got a product element and a service element in it. So there is really no that clear differences between service intensive products, hybrids, and service intensive services. So I would understand that one. So let's go to another red flag question, which was question 5. In this question, it was asking, when classifying service according to core benefits, this is about person who received the services or the benefits, as well as whether they are tangible, intangible. Attending an online session for personal selling via Microsoft Teams app to learn about chapter 13 is an example of which one. So we're talking about a real practical example here of what is currently happening right now. So you will see most players chose intangible benefits, which is correct with this one. On customer possessions, but this is on customer bodies. That's another aspect that you have to take, that when you talk about customer bodies, they don't refer to only physical bodies, they also refer to your mindset and so on. It won't be on customer position, because this will be teaching robots or teaching anything. That will be some sort of whereby teaching does not go towards you as a learner. So hence this one is incorrect. The correct one here is intangible benefits on customer bodies. And the last red flag question that we have was question 10, I think. And when we quickly go to that question, question 10 was asking, when classifying service according to a product or a service continuum, A BMW 320i car model is an example of, and then we've already covered these categories, how they are used. So in this case, the correct answer was I'm actually buying a product which needs some service, because a car itself is a product, but you will need maintenance there, you will need insurance and so on. Like I've indicated previously, I'm not too strict with the differences among these three. So a question such as this one, maybe we can take this as a or consider this as a learning curve for assessors, that it cannot work on a multiple choice, or if we do it on a multiple choice, we must just exclude these two. And then we have hybrids, we've got those. So I'm actually happy with those incorrect answers, because they also give another direction towards assessment for us as well. So it's a learning curve for me, it's a learning curve for you. So I'm sure you actually had some fun in using the quizzes. Like I've indicated before, your semester test next assessment is going to be sitting on campus, and the information will be on Brightspace there. So remember to sign the attendance register. So as we leave, just comment here with any smiley face, any emoticon face that you have, or representing your mood, the happy face if you are happy, sad face if you are not. Any comment is also welcome. I note your question about the recordings here. Yes, I will post the recording on WhatsApp, as well as the lecture slides that I'm using. So I'll do that before end of the day. Have a lovely day and enjoy the weekend. Bye, ladies and gentlemen.
Sir,
Yes, I'm still here.
is the assessment 5 going to be multiple choice?
Unfortunately, no multiple choice at all. It's just long questions. Hence, you must write it on campus. So yeah, no multiple choice there. And that could also be a good thing because sometimes multiple choice tend to be more difficult than long questions, but that's another debate. So let me quickly stop the recording. I've already said my goodbye, so I'll be leaving. Have a lovely weekend. Bye.